Welcome back to JOJ. It's November 14th, and it is, or I guess I hope you caught the live last week.
Yep.
And we are in our second month of where we pick a word of the month. And we picked this word.
We did?
Well, no, back in October.
Oh, yeah.
I did not pick this word on the list.
There we go. That's what I was.
Yes. And so this word of the month is Omni.
What does Omni mean?
It means all and universally. It means everywhere.
Yeah. All of anything.
Yes.
And it's really a connective word in that you don't use Omni by itself, that you put it with something else, but it's that connective word that does mean all or universally, everything of whatever it is that you're talking about. So the three that we're going to cover this month, we're going to start with Omnipresence, and then we're going to move to Omniscience next week, and then we're going to talk about Omnipotence the final week of November, which will be right around Thanksgiving. All right, so Omnipresence.
It is a noun. I like to clarify.
Yeah.
The state of being widespread or constantly encountered. And it even has a little bullet point here that says the presence of God everywhere at the same time.
Yeah, so that is the omnipresence. And that's what's interesting with each of these words. When you look up the definition of them, they all have a reference to God's ability to be omnipresent. The first verse we want to share is Genesis 1:1 and 2.
Yep. And it's, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters.
Yeah. So at the very beginning, that God was there. You know, when the beginning started, God was already there. He was the only thing that was there. He was him, and he was hovering over the surface of the waters. That's all that was there. And then next is John 1:1 and 2, which is I like how similar these two are, but I don't know exactly the amount of years difference between the two of when that they actually took place in time.
Yeah.
But the difference that was there, but then how John, correlated that back to Genesis 1.
It's in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning.
So again, that is John, who has now lived alongside of Jesus, has been there for most of his, ministry on earth, who's seen him, who's, ate meals with him, who's shared a life with him, basically, and has seen that Jesus is God, Jesus was God, Jesus will be God, and that, for him to be able to understand that he was with God that whole time. So that, again, just showing that presence of God through time and in all these places. And then the last one to share, I feel like really applies, that to me it really speaks to us at this point in time with where we are, where we are in our walk, hopefully, but also how we can apply this omnipresence of God to our time.
It's Matthew 18:20. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them.
And that,
I haven't got that messed up.
Yeah, and that was actually Jesus speaking there. Those words are written in red. So, that to me, that is what really, for us as believers, if I'm away at a tournament and we're having fishing church on the side of a lake bank, or we're at home and we're at Lions Creek, or wherever it is that you go to church, or wherever it is that 2 or 3 of you all gather in Jesus' name, he's able to be there with us. So that quality of God is just, he's able to be in all places at all times, to be there with us. And I know in our life we've had those times where we felt God's presence. I think that is that's something that we've all experienced. You said it was times when you avoid saying things sometimes.
Yes, or you think, I feel like most people say, they feel God's presence most, obviously, like when you're in a situation where someone has passed away, or you're at a really hard, just just a hard time in life, because I feel like that's probably when people seek him most. Like,
absolutely.
he is always there, like when things are good and everything's great, but you may not be seeking him as much, so you say you don't feel him as much. So I feel like when you're at your worst is when you're like,
you're really leaning into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I mean, obviously, like the bigger things in our lives, you know, like you think, okay, well, yes, I know God was there because we wouldn't have got through it without him. But also, it's the same for when everything's going great in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those times when people absolutely want to dust off their Bible and read some scripture when they're going through a hard time, and you know something is being a very trying time, whether that's a loss or you know whatever it may be. Just a tough week. People will seek that comfort, and He's always there. He's always there, ready to do that. And it's certainly not wrong to seek that comfort, but it's when that hard time has passed, you close the Bible up and you put it back up on the shelf. That's where the mistake is.
Yeah, because you're missing out on. He wants to celebrate your wins and you know surviving the day at this point. You know, I mean, I feel like every day that everybody has made it to where they're supposed to go, they've eaten something. I'm not even going to say that they've eaten something good at this point because
just that
they've had some food.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's back home. Like, that's my biggest fear right now, I think, is to leave somebody somewhere.
Yeah. So far, it's not happened yet. But
knock on wood. We've got a long couple weeks while you're gone.
Yeah. But yeah, that presence of God is definitely there anytime that we, you know, we seek it out. I think a couple big times for me, and you know, certainly in recent years, one was with the Classic. You know, the first day I had knelt outside and I had prayed just for God's will to be done. And I really felt when I stood up from that prayer in the backyard, I was so comforted. I honestly, at that point in time, I honestly didn't care if I caught a fish. Like I knew that He was going to accomplish His purpose, whether it was with me or not. I hoped it was, but I really didn't care. Because I knew that I had left it all there. The very next day, I'd went completely 180 degrees from that, and was upset that I wasn't leading the tournament and that I was a couple pounds back. And then,
but I was comforted that day.
Yeah, Jennie. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, "This is great."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was actually a little excited because it was at the end of the day, it wasn't ours to lose. So it was kind of So I think God kind of gave us each something there, because had He been leading that second day, I mean, nerves were already crazy, but I would have been even more of a wreck.
Yeah, and that it kept me from being so much of one, because and that was where I finally got to on the morning of the final day. You know, when we had prayed together again that morning, was that I was like, this is still completely in His hands, and it can be whatever He wants it to be. And I was with a lot less pressure on me, you know, at that point. So, even though it wasn't in my mind the right design. Yeah, it was exactly what He wanted. And then certainly for me, the other time, even in that same year, was laying there getting ready to go into heart surgery. You know, and I just kept replaying that verse in my mind: to live as Christ, to die as gain, from Philippians. And there was nothing more I wanted to do than to be fixed and to be healed. But I was pretty well comforted at that point in time. You weren't so much.
I mean, no. I never felt like anything wasn't going to go good, but every time He says that, I'm like,
When they walked out of there and handed you the bag of stuff.
Yes, that was not a good feeling, but it's all right.
Yeah, but God was there in that time with you to comfort you and let you know that it was going to be okay.
Yes, He sent that sweet little lady that gave me a hug.
That's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was before you went back or after, but there was just this sweet little lady. I went to the restroom and I come back and she just like stops me. And I mean, she was like, you know, I'm tall, so she was like here on me, and she's like, "Is today the day?" You know, and I'm like, yes, because I'm like, okay, she's had to have seen something. But, you know, we didn't really say what day he was and where he was having surgery. So, But yeah, I mean, she just hugged me and cried. And so at that point, I had kept it together, and then I'm crying, she's crying, and I come back, and my mom's like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine, just a sweet little old lady."
Yeah. But that,
yeah.
I mean, God, we don't know who that lady was.
Mm-mm.
She could have been an angel for all we know. But, I mean, that was, God used that person, put them in that situation. I mean, his presence had filled that lady just to be there to comfort you in that time. So, almost got you.
I know, quit.
But yeah, so I think that just a couple experiences from us of where we've seen God's presence.
He's always there, whether it's good, bad, ugly, but also part of it as Christians is to seek Him. Absolutely. Yeah, if we're not doing our part, and where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, He makes that very clear multiple times in the Bible that it's important for us to, as believers, to gather together. That's I hear a lot of stuff all the time. I'm never any closer to God than when I'm out on the water or I'm hunting or whatever. And I absolutely can believe I can relate to that, obviously. But if you're forsaking gathering together completely, we're as believers, we're made to join with other believers and to share our burdens and to share our wins and to share all that together with other believers, because we're people made for fellowship. Yeah, we absolutely are. So it's very important for us to gather together in His name, and He'll be there with us. So. Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this. Come back next week, and we'll try to get through another Omni topic. Yeah. So thanks for watching.